Hello guys and gals, I will be reading My Dog Does My Homework. It is an exclusive collection of poems by Shel Silverstein, Jack Prelutsky, Merriam, and many more, with a special introduction and poem pointers by John Siska, author of The Stinky Cheese Man. I started this once and my phone update interrupted my recording, so I had to do it all over again. But that's okay. My Dog Does My Homework, and this is the copyright information. Okay, it's by Scholastic. And we'll be reading this, but for now, we're going to focus on these ants, so I don't have to look through the viewfinder to read the poem. It says, Dear reader, a dog who does my homework. Ants in the lunchroom? An ice cream fountain mountain? These are all things you might find in a funny poem. In fact, you can find them right in this very book. In this exclusive collection, read funny poems from favorite authors like Shel Silverstein, Jack Prelutsky, and many others, including me. One of the best things about these poems is that they can surprise you and get you interested in other kinds of poems and reading too. Enjoy the book by yourself, with a friend, or maybe, if you're lucky enough to have one, with the dog who does your homework. Poetically yours, John Siska. And that's... It's a fairly short book, so we should be able to do it in one sitting. My dog does my homework. My dog does my homework at home every night. He answers every question and gets them all right. There's only one problem with homework by Rover. I can't turn in work that has been slobbered all over. By Ken Nesbitt. And the eraser poem, it has to basically be seen to be understood. And it's by Lewis Phillips. Basically, it is the words, the eraser poem, but each line they take away a letter until there is nothing left, which gives it the reverse pyramid look. And overall, I really like poems that are visual. I mean, they're not exactly, they don't rhyme, but there's a visual element to them. Like a poem about a tree, but it looks like a tree, made out of words. So it's kind of cool. Anyways, The Creature in the Classroom. We're going to look at the creature in the classroom so I don't have to look through the viewfinder here. It's really hard to read through the viewfinder of my phone. It appeared inside our classroom at 10:15. It gobbled up the blackboard, 3 erasers, and a pen. It gobbled teacher's apple, and it bopped her with the core. How dare you, she responded. You must leave us. There's the door. The creature didn't listen, but described an arabesque as it gobbled all her pencils, 7 notebooks, and her desk. Teacher stated very calmly, Sir, you simply cannot stay. I'll report you to the principal unless you go away. But the thing continued eating. It ate paper, swallowed ink. As it gobbled up our homework, I believe I saw it wink. Teacher finally lost her temper. Ouch, she shouted at the creature. The creature hopped beside her and blop, it gobbled teacher. And that is by Jack Prelutsky. And we're going to read this about John Siska's poem pointers. What better subject for a poem than your own experience at school? Write a poem about a funny school bus ride, getting up for school late, or being buried by homework. Which is a good idea. Okay. From the Book of Nonsense. We'll be reading this, but I'm going to have the viewfinder over here for now. This book does have some bent pages in it, so I apologize for that. I closed it inside of another book to flatten them out, and I don't think I did it long enough. From the Book of Nonsense, there was an old person whose habits introduced him to feed upon rabbits. When he'd eaten 18, he'd turned perfectly green, upon which he relinquished those habits. And that is by Edward Lear. Now, here's an anonymous poem called A Mouse in Her Room Woke Miss Dowd. We're going to look at the rabbits. A mouse in her room woke Miss Dowd. She was frightened and screamed very loud. Then a happy thought hit her. To scare off the critter, she sat up in bed and meowed. Now, that was also in the book we read before about the limericks, rhymes, and riddles, if I recall. A careless zookeeper named Blake. This is another one. Okay, and we're going to go look at the rabbits again so I don't have to look through that viewfinder. A careless zookeeper named Blake fell into a tropical lake. Said a fat alligator a few minutes later, "Very nice, but I still prefer steak." And that was also by Anonymous. Now, here we were going to read this John Siska poem pointer. It says, Edward Lear did not invent the limerick, but he made it popular. He wrote more than 200 of them, unless he ended the fifth line with the last word from the first or second lines. Okay, wait. Oh, no, usually he ended the fifth line with the last word from the first or second line. Today, most limericks end with a new rhyme like a punchline. To write your own limerick, rhyme line 1, 2, and 5, and then rhyme lines 3 and 4. Try writing a limerick about your pet, a family member, your best friend, or your worst enemy. Okay, we're on to page 10. And these pages are sticking together. Let me get these pages apart. I think 9. Or maybe the pages are actually missing. Hold on, give me a second. There we go. The pages were just stuck together. I couldn't get them apart one-handed. Okay, this one is called The Crocodile and the Alligator, and it's by Douglas Florian. We are going to look at this one, though, so I don't have to look through the viewfinder. The crocodile smile is wide, enough to stuff pig inside, but did you know that alligator sometimes swallows second graders? Dark, but I buy it. Now, this one is called The Gnome, the Gnat, and the Gnu. And it isn't pronounced GNU, it's pronounced new, because the G is silent. And this is by Shel Silverstein. And we're going to look at the alligators, because I don't want to look through the viewfinder. I saw an old gnome take a knock at a gnat who was nibbling the nose of his gnu. I said, nasty gnome, no, now stop doing that. That gnat ain't done nothing to you. He nodded and gnarled his old head and said, till now I never knew that knocking a gnat in the noodle like that was not a nice thing to do. And all of the N words start with GN, so that one was kind of confusing to read. But actually, brilliant. I love Shel Silverstein. 11, okay, we're on page 12. Here's one about eels. We'll read one about fleas, and we'll read the one about the poem pointer here. Then we're going to focus on the monster in my mirror. Eels. I don't mind eels except as meals and the way they feels. That's by Ogden Nash. Another thing by Ogden Nash is called Fleas. Adam had 'em. That was by Ogden Nash. Now, compose a creepy beast or bug poem using ants, cockroaches, snakes, slugs, or your own made-up creation. Don't forget to use good verbs like slither and squirm, which rhymes nicely with worm, germ, and term, by the way. Okay, now, there's a monster in my mirror. We are going to be reading that. It is by Douglas Florian again. There's a monster in my mirror with 2 beady yellow eyes. Since I first awoke this morning, it's been there to my surprise. It's as wrinkled as a rhino, it's as hairy as a hound, and from deep within its belly comes a groaning, moaning sound. Its long teeth are sharp and pointed, its fat tongue is shaded blue, and its mouth is drooling liquid that resembles airplane glue. There's a monster in my mirror with green horns upon its head. Tell that monster in my mirror that I'm going back to bed. Okay, and that was by Douglas Florian. Okay, now we have something called Vegetarian Poem by Anonymous, and it's a folk rhyme. We're going to read the poem pointer and then go and read Poemsicle. Do you care at all for me? My heart beats for you with your turnip nose and your radish face. You are a peach. If we can elope, let us marry. We'd make a swell pair. And all the different words there. There's carrot, beets, turnip, radish, peach, cantaloupe, lettuce, and pear. And weed. I guess that isn't exactly a vegetable, though. It says, okay, now we're going to read the thing here. One of the fun things about poems is the freedom to use words in a new way. Wordplay can mean anything from using funny spelling, inventing new words, or even spelling out noises and sounds like special effects inside a poem. Try writing a short poem with at least one invented word, like Silverstein's mop-sickle, and one sound effect like zap or kerplop. Okay, now, poem-sickle. If you add sickle to your pop, would it become a popsicle? Would a mop become a mopsicle? Would a cop become a copsicle? Would a chop become a chopsicle? Would a drop become a dropsicle? Would a hop become a hopsicle? I guess it's time to stop sickle, or it is time sickle to stop sickle. Hey sickle, I can't stop sickle. Oh sickle, my sickle, will sickle, is sickle, half sickle, to sickle, talk sickle, like sickle, this sickle, forever sickle. Sickle. It's neat how they added sickle to every single word. That's actually really brilliant. And it's by Shel Silverstein, of course. We are making good progress here. Ants in the lunchroom. We will read that, but we're going to read this page first. Appearing this morning exactly at 9, they entered our lunchroom and mustered a line. They seemed to be dancing or whistling a tune, then ran out the door with a fork and a spoon. They quickly came back for a knife and a plate, not bothering at all by the size or the weight. They grabbed all the glasses and cups they could find and bagged every bowl, leaving nothing behind. They worked through the morning till mid-afternoon and carried off every single saucer and spoon. They searched every shelf, and they emptied each drawer, and pilfered the platters, and dashed out the door. They put on a truly impressive display until they were finished and wandered away. Although we were puzzled, we had to conclude those ants were no dummies. They left all the food. By Ken Nesbitt. So apparently the ants took everything but the food, which is ironic. Okay, skeletons in the restaurant. We'll read that one. Skeletons in the restaurant. Skeletons in the restaurants should wear enormous bibs to catch the peas and other things that don't stick to their ribs. That is by Paul Duggan. Banana. I thought I'd win the spelling bee and get right to the top, but I started to spell banana and I didn't know when to stop. That is by William Cole. This is Lost Head by Douglas Florian again. I'm sorry I got angry. I guess I lost my head. It really doesn't matter. I'll borrow yours instead. I'll have it back by Friday. You won't miss it at all. Until then, you can borrow my brother's basketball. That's by Stephen Florian, and we're going to read this poem point. Even though funny poems don't have to rhyme, many of them do. The fun of a lot of poems comes from their unexpected rhymes. Try using some of these rhyme combinations of poem, and dream up your own. Twister, sister, blister, mister. Flutter, stutter, peanut butter. Do, blue, glue, ooh. Okay, we're almost done here. Free offer. Okay. I've got the measles, want 'em too? I can give them to you easily. But though we share and share alike, your share will still be measly. That's by X.J. Kennedy. I believe they had some poems in that other book I read as well. My tongue is tasting terrible. My tongue is tasting terrible. I can't imagine why, for all I ate was pickled snake and chicken beaks on rye. I had a plate of candied snails, assorted monkey lips, a bowl of curdled turtle tails, a dish of hippo chips. I tried a bit of weasel cheese, rhinoceros tofu, a cup of plankton pudding, garlic curry kangaroo, a quart of onion ice cream, and a slice of walrus pie. My tongue is tasting terrible, I can't imagine why, by Jack Prelutsky. Then we have this poem point here. It says, gross stuff is an easy way to get a laugh inside a poem. Nasty food is a sure bet. Try writing your own poem about the worst school lunch you can imagine. Okay, only have a few pages left. The Ice Cream Fountain Mountain. They mentioned that at the beginning, and it's by Eve Merriam. And this is a long one, so we're going to basically focus on the thing in the middle. There are so many different flavors to find, it gets harder and harder to make up my mind. How can I ever decide on what kind? There's raspberry ripple, marshmallow drip, peppermint flagpole, apple tooth chip, macaroon pickle, chocolate cheese, pumpernickel cherry, salami freeze, blueberry tweed, maple nut mink, orange ice pizza, raisin run fink, blackberry tuna, tiddly-dee pear, tomato toffee, chrysanthemum yum. That's a hard word to say. Banana blubber, French fried nectarine, turtleneck taffy, drip dry tangerine, cinnamon spasm, pistachio burp, cantaloupe clam, slime of lime slurp, Nestle road yo-yo, butterscotch tape, frenzy of apricot, barefooted grape, wheat germ parfait, waltz of walnut sludge, and the special today is Frankfurter fudge. And that was by Eve Merriam. 24. We are going to read Wish You Were Here by Colin McNaughton. Dear all, the sea looks great, but I've not tested. Locals say it's shark infested. Beach looks fine, I'm not complaining. Go there soon as it stops raining. The food's okay if you like fish and things that crawl across your dish. As for our hotel, it's neat. It should be great when it's complete. I'll bring you back a souvenir. Goodbye for now. Wish you were here. And I wasn't. That's in quotation marks. That's by Colin McNaughton. On Top of Spaghetti, parody of On Top of Old Smoky. And this is by Tom Glazer. On top of spaghetti, all covered with cheese, I lost my poor meatball when somebody sneezed. It rolled off the table and onto the floor, and last time I saw it, it rolled out the door. That is actually to music, but I didn't feel like singing it. I'm sure everybody knows that song. But 5. Please hold. I think the pages are stuck together again. Okay. Yeah, the pages were stuck together. This book hasn't been used in a while. This one is just simply entitled Trees by Frank Jacobs. I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree. I'd hoped, of course, that there would be a tree still left for me to see. Some lumber firm from out of town has chopped the whole darn forest down, but I'll show up the dirty skunks. I'll go write a poem called Trunks. That's by Frank Jacobs. And it carries an environmental message. I like that. Lovely. I think that I ain't never seen a poem as ugly as the spleen, a poem that could make you shiver like 3.5 pounds of liver, a poem to make you lose your lunch, tie your intestines in a bunch, a poem all gray, wet and swollen like a stomach or a colon, something like your kidney, lung, pancreas, bladder, even tongue. Why you turning green, good buddy? It's just human body study, and it's by John Siska, and he has a poem pointer down here. Trees by Frank Jacobs and Lovely by John Siska are both parodies of famous old poems. Trees by Joyce Kilmer. Poem parodies can make writing poems easier. You use the same rhyme and number of syllables per line from a song or poem you already know, but you change the words to make it your own poem. How do you make it funny? Try writing about unlikely subjects like spleens and livers. Okay, now let's see if I can get these pages apart. Yes. We are on page 28. We're going to read A Frog, a Stick, and it's by Jack Prelutsky. A frog, a stick, a shell, a stone, a paper clip, a chicken bone, a feather quill, a piece of string, a ladybug, a beetle wing, a greenish wad of bubble gum, assorted keys and cookie crumbs, a maple leaf, a candy bar, a rubber band, a model car, Potato chips and soggy fries, plus something I can't recognize, a broken watch, a plastic cow. That's what's inside my pockets now. And that's by Jack Prelutsky. Rules. This is by Carla Kuskin. Do not jump on ancient uncles. Do not yell at average mice. Do not wear a broom to breakfast. Do not ask a snake's advice. Do not bathe in chocolate pudding. Do not talk to bearded bears. Do not smoke cigars on sofas. Do not dance on velvet chairs. Do not take a whale to visit Russell's mother's cousin's yacht. And whatever you do, it is better you do not. And this poem says, not all poems have to rhyme. Sometimes a poem happens when you make a list. It's the combination of unlikely items that make the poem funny. Try making up a poem that's a weird list of the objects at the back of your closet, under your couch, seat cushions, or inside your locker at school. We are to page 30, and I think that's probably the last page. Nope. Yeah, here we are. Okay, this is just called Hi, How Are You Today? By Jeff Moss. I'm feeling very horrible and low and mean and mad and dreadful and deplorable and rotten, sick and sad and nasty and unbearable and hateful, vile and blue, but thanks a lot for asking, and please tell me, how are you? That is by Jeff Moss. Now, we are going to go over some basic poetic terms just because we can and it's in the book. Alliteration, repeating the same constant sound at the start of words. It's like the T sound in the line from Jack Prelutsky's poem, My Tongue is Tasting Terrible. Limericks, a funny 5-line story told in verse with rhyme. The poem form was made popular by Edward Lear in his book of Nonsense in 1864. Meter, when you read a poem, some words or syllables are said louder or in a different way than others. The combination of these different sounds or beats is the meter. Nonsense verse, a poem whose words may have more than one meaning, like a pun. That makes the poem funny, or a poem of made-up words. Parody. A parody is a funny imitation of someone else's writing style. See On Top of Spaghetti and Lovely for examples of this. Pun, the funny use of a word that gives it two meanings. In vegetarian poem, the poem uses vegetable words to get a laugh. Instead of let us, the poem uses lettuce, as in the vegetable. Rhyme, repetition of end sounds is called rhyme. The use of rhyme can form a pattern. Patterns of rhymes are often repeated throughout the poem. Stanza, a group of lines in a poem forms a unit. Stanzas in poems are like paragraphs in an essay. Each stanza is usually separated from others by a blank space on the page. Theme, the main idea of a poem. And these are the acknowledgements. I will zoom in, and I probably won't read all of them, but every effort has been made to trace ownership of all copyrighted materials in this book. If there are any errors or omissions, corrections will be made in future editions. Grateful acknowledgments are made to the following for permission to reprint the copyrighted material listed below. And we're just going to gently scroll down here. We don't want to miss anybody. Okay. Okay, now we're going to do this other one. And that'll do it. If you want to see the list further, you can pause the video. And this gives a list of all the authors. But that was a really good book, and it only took about 25 minutes to read. I really appreciate everyone sticking around to the end of the video. I appreciate the support. I have a wide variety of content on my channel, and I'm up to nearly 300 videos. And so if this is your cup of tea, or even if it isn't, then like and subscribe. And leave a comment. Also, ring the bell so you can find out when I upload again. As always, I appreciate all support and all the great viewers out there. Thanks for listening, everyone, and have a great day.